Sometimes I wish we wore headphones.
Why?
I think it's the same reason, like when when you do the audio for when I do awards, like how you're like, she likes it cranked up super high. Like I need to be able to hear myself to gauge volume. Cause I'm like, I could be whispering or yelling right now. I don't.
Seems like a skill you should work on.
No, but I guess, and maybe it's just like regular talking. I should just assume, but because this is like, do I do it different than if I'm just in a regular setting?
Yeah.
Because like when I listen back to the podcast, yours is always so quiet, but like I can hear you fine here. But like if I've listened to it on like my phone, I have to turn the volume up when you're talking.
Yeah, I have a NPR voice.
But then I'm like screech.
Yeah, you're yelling.
But
that's probably why I'm talking so quiet, because you're screaming.
But we have to meet in the
yeah,
you, like, blame up, blame down, blame up, blame down. They're producing our podcast just
Could you
because
imagine?
they have to adjust the volume. But regular talking, I don't think I'm yelling. Like this is my talking voice.
Yeah.
To where I think with
so.
the headphones, it lets me, like when I'm on stage. That's why I like it
yelling.
to be. See, that doesn't feel yelly to me.
Yeah.
When I'm on stage, if I can really hear it, then there's no guessing. Then I can judge a little bit better because I can hear what they're hearing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like like one of the last awards, I was like screaming. I was like, I can feel that I am putting more oomph into this, but I don't know if they're also hearing me scream. But like the kids on stage can't hear me.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's a topic for a different day.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to go into all that right now. But
Either way, I think it would be interesting to see if I'm better with it with headphones.
yeah, it would be interesting to see. My guess would be no. Because you have like a...
I also have I like things loud in my ears.
Yeah, you have a style of cadence and voice. Like you start to talk, and then the longer that you talk, the louder you start to get. It's like you'll start quiet because you're maybe conscious of it, but then as soon as you become unconscious of it, like if you talk for longer than 5 seconds, you start to just yell at me.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I'll try to pay attention to that.
But it's also like, if we're both talking this way, this podcast is going to be doubly boring. People are falling asleep when I'm talking.
Sure.
And then they wake up when you're talking because you actually sound like you're interested in something.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can do that without the volume increasing. Like you said, like there's a cadence and a way. It's like what I do it with like when I MC. It's like I'm not changing my volume necessarily. I'm just changing like the flair of how I say each word.
Yeah.
I don't have to scream and shout, and that's the only dynamic way of talking.
Yeah.
I'll focus on that.
Yeah, I don't have a very great podcast voice. Or speaking voice. I can talk into the mic way better than you. You're like, oh, God.
Crunch, crunch, crunch.
You're just too animated.
Blowing my nose, crunching into my mouth.
Yeah.
Coughing.
But people can hear you.
Yeah. I think about that when I have, like, when I'm trying to post the shorts of this. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I know my voice very well from work, where I'm like, this is the voice that you choose to just talk with every day. Like, there's a version of your voice that, like, people compliment you. Like, your job is to do that. And then this is the one that, like, is your day to day. It's like a frog. Like, it's, like, very gargly, froggy, like.
I think everybody feels that way about their own voice. If they hear their own voice.
But my MC one, I'm like, okay, this sounds good. But that's hard to maintain. I mean, it would sound ridiculous, first of all.
Oh, my God. It would sound
so ridiculous.
So ridiculous. Are you kidding me?
But it's like my diaphragm. Like, that's why I could see with singers being like that. Like, if their core is strong, what part of their core is strong? Because, like, my abs will get sore when I'm doing awards.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's like, it's just also harder to talk that way.
Yeah.
To where probably. I'm like, I'm sure I'm talking more from my diaphragm to where a regular day I'm all throat.
Oh, sure. Well, and you're putting more attention to how you're speaking too. I mean, it's like you're writing. You could write as fast as possible and it's going to look your normal writing. But then if you slow everything down, you can make it look a lot nicer. Probably the same thing with speaking. It's like you're just going to speak in your normal tone or whatever.
Yeah.
But then when you're really trying to, that's when it's like, it's harder. It's literally harder.
I wonder if singers get a better talking voice as they get more training with their vocal, like, because you're not supposed to talk with your throat. Like, that's just like our lazy body's way of doing it. But like, that's not great for our vocal cords.
See, this is what's kind of confusing to me is like, but that's how you talk. It's through your vocal cords, through your throat. I get the whole like concept of the diaphragm thing, but it sounds like a little like fugazi of, we're just like kind of, it's like lift with your glutes in dance. It's like, sure, that's a good image and attempt, but that's not how it's actually going to work.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also don't have personally this problem in my family. Like, I haven't noticed the elderly in my family have this problem, but like, it's connected to also when you get older with your ability to, like, your breathing, like your respiratory, to where, okay, they don't have necessarily like breathing issues, but they've had strokes and heart attacks and like those issues.
Do you think that's because they talk through their throat?
No, I mean, no, that is like a part of the correlation is because we're not working on those muscles.
Zoom in on me. I just feel like this is a bunch of bullshit.
Because we're not using those muscles. It's like the whole breathing nose thing. Like, it seems stupid and like, who cares? But it...
Bullshit meter.
Because, I mean, it is like, it's a muscle. Like, when we're not utilizing that, our whole respiratory, like, we know getting poor oxygen, like the whole respiratory system, when it's not functioning great, that's where you have a lot of the cognition issues. That's where you have a lot of like the later in dementia issues. You have heart problems. It's like, it's like breathing or talking in the way that most people do, like through their throat. That is like the lazy version of talking.
How do you even talk with your diaphragm? Maybe I already do it all the time.
I mean, I don't necessarily know like how do you focus on tapping into it. I just notice when I talk into my MC voice, it just tight like.
Give us a little. I knew that was gonna get you.
No one wants to hear that.
Okay, show us. Give us an example.
I'm sure there are plenty of videos we could just pop into screens right now then. But it's definitely like I have to, and I don't even know if it's more of the to hit the tones and the cadences, but it's the like I have to, like the projecting. Like if you have to project when you talk, that's when you have to, I don't know. Like it's hard not to speak with your diaphragm. Because like if you talked with just your throat, like it's kind of like the Billie Eilish way of singing. I mean, she's not doing that because of she's just choosing her volume. Mm-hmm. But it's like people that can sing and project based off of like just not who's in the room. Like you have to be able to use those deeper muscles just to get it out.
That's me. I'm the Billie Eilish of podcasting.
Yeah.
Quiet, soft. You got to crank the volume.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Moving on.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that stuff. I've never looked into it, never cared about it.
I had to start looking into it because when I first started emceeing forever ago, I would notice like my throat would hurt and I would get headaches really bad.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to figure something out.
Which do you really, I mean, I guess you kind of do, but I was going to say, like, do you really need to project that much? But yeah, you kind of do.
Yeah.
Because it's through a microphone, so you'd think, oh, it's being pushed out. But it's still, when you get that many people in there, it's crazy. It's crazy from the start of the competition when there's 10 people in the crowd versus the end when there's, 200, 300 people in there. Like, the way that sound goes through a room, how, like, the more people that are in there, it literally is like getting absorbed by those people. So you have to crank the volume up.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's something that I was like, I don't know. I was so surprised to learn that from Eric, because it was just like, this is so weird. You would think like volume is going to be this way, but it's literally getting like absorbed by people, it seems like, which is kind of, I guess, like the idea of soundproofing a little bit. Like it's getting absorbed and staying in that space, or just literally getting absorbed. But yeah, it's so odd how that happens.
Yeah. Well, and again, going back to why I like the volume of my mic to be so loud on the stage ones, because I already have to project that if I can't hear myself being loud enough, now I'm like screaming. It seems like I'm screaming or yelling, and then that ruins, I think, the quality of how I'm sounding and the ability to do the cadence, because I'm just yelling.
Yeah, which you just have to be in communication with the other people to know, like, no, you sound fine, just keep doing what you're doing. To where, like, you almost have to disconnect from what you hear.
Sure.
And stay in your own little thing.
That's hard. I can't trust that.
Yeah. Huh?
Well, I could. It's just, But I even noticed, let's move on. This is a lot about sound for some reason.
People tuning in are like, what is this about? We like to do this type of episode every now and again because I feel like we learn new things, and also for people who are new to listening, I think it's a helpful thing to continue to go over, and maybe our opinions change on it too, but going through just like the top 5 ways of how to get healthy and like what you need to be doing and how you're going to get there. So many people try to start this journey and try to get to where they're going, but they don't know what they should be doing. They try these, different things they see on the internet or somebody told them that really worked for them, and they do it for a little while. And part of the problem probably is just that they do it for a little while and fall off. But I think another part of it is what they're trying is so extreme or so crazy that it's hard to stay on track with it. So I think it's cool for us to give like the top 5 things we think to get healthy, to stay healthy, to be healthy, without kind of all the fluffery.
What is your definition of healthy? That's another thing I noticed when I talk in my throat. I have to cough way more. I never have to do this when I'm moving on.
What's the definition of healthy? I don't know. I think the BMI metric is one thing to look at. It's a very general thing, but I think it's something to be able to pay attention to and look at. If you're in the correct BMI range for your height and weight, it's like you're doing better than somebody that is not in the correct BMI range. So I think that's one marker. I don't know. It's hard to define because, like, I think I don't know, some muscular strength, the biomarkers thing. I know a lot of people are not going to get blood panels and look at that and see what their cholesterol is or their this or their that. But I think that's another way to look at it and see, all those kind of biomarker things.
Because that's what's tricky with saying healthy is I think the BMI is a good start because that's an easy thing to scale and get the metrics on, because you hear a lot of people say like, well, I'm healthy. It's like, no, you're visibly overweight. So even if you get all those tests done, which I would say these tests are probably not going to, well, I don't know. That's what's tricky with the tests of the cholesterol level. Like if you get basically a average nowadays physical, we have adjusted the numbers so much to meet our society and to make us feel not terrible about ourselves that what is based for longevity and to not and to also be proactive in a way of not allowing more health issues to come up later on. That is not the system that our health metrics are based on. They're based off, you're not dying right now, you're good.
Yeah.
Or like, you don't need medication, you're good. To where those numbers are kind of a little bit off. But if you're visibly overweight, that would be a bigger sign. So I would say, what are your physicality? What does it look like? Are you weak and kind of flabby, or like the skinny fat? Like you're maybe thin, but there's no density to you, and there's no structure to where, again, there's no structure then on the inside either. There's not a lot of substance there. That I think the BMI is a good thing, but just how do you look and how do you feel? Like, how is the quality of your skin? How's the quality of your hair? How is your energy levels? How are you sleeping? Are you obese, or you're not obese, but are you overweight or are you not? Is there some muscle tone to you? Can you walk for 30 minutes at a time? Are you able to go upstairs without getting crazily out of breath? And then I would say, like, your habits. Are you getting exercise regularly? And regularly as in, are you getting some sort of something maybe every day? That doesn't mean you're going into the gym and you're doing an hour workout, but can you walk around for 30 minutes or 20 minutes and not be dead tired when you're going to sleep? Are you getting some sort of resistance training in? How is your eating? Is your eating at home with whole foods, not a lot of packaged ingredient or packaged foods or packaged things that you have to read a lot of the ingredients? As long as there is a general balance of getting whole foods in your diet, you're getting some sort of exercise fairly regularly, and you can maintain day-to-day tasks without your body being a hindrance.
Yeah. And obviously health is a spectrum. Like there's some people that are super healthy. There's some people that are moderately healthy. There's some people that are completely unhealthy. And especially with that spectrum, like there's so many categories where you're going to be healthy in one area, maybe not healthy in another area. The overall picture of it, though, I think you hit a lot of the main things. Just like, are you overweight or underweight? Which again goes back to the BMI thing. I think the energy level is another really good thing, because that could show you maybe where there's vitamin deficiencies or, mineral deficiencies, like heavy toxins potentially, or just like lack of sleep, all that kind of stuff. Your muscle tone. I think a lot of the things that you said are good things to look at, to see. To boil it down to a few, I would say those few, like overweight, underweight, how's your energy, and physical. Like, are you able to be physical for a decent amount of time and it not completely drain you and exhaust you?
What would be your first adjustment? Or your first focal point?
The food. I think the food. I think the number one, like if I was going to rank them, the first one would be the food. I think it's the most important compared to the rest of them, because that has probably the most effect on what's happening internally, your organs, and just all of the stuff that's going on inside of your digestive system, your endocrine system, all that kind of stuff. How is your immune system holding up? A lot of people right now around us are getting sick and we're not. And it's like, how much of that has to do with the way that we eat, us taking, appropriate vitamins, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, staying physically active, trying to get outside. So I would say the food is the biggest thing to help all of those things. And especially if you're in a situation where you aren't healthy, I think that's the number one thing to address, because that's something that you have to do every single day. So you are constantly getting practice of it, or you're constantly putting stuff into your system that you have control over what you put into your system. And the better it is, the better results you're going to end up having.
There was a study done recently. I haven't read it fully yet, but there was a study done recently where this is because I wouldn't have said food. I wouldn't have said working out. I would have probably said sleep. It is kind of like, if you can do a little bit of all of them. For me, whether it's human behavior or if it's just me and I've noticed it with people around me, I think people do a little bit better of focusing on tiny bits of a lot of different things. I would have normally said, like, just focus on one until you get good at it. But I think people are too quick to jump ship, even with that. Like, they get too bored too fast. Focusing just on sleep or just on food, I don't think they're going to last until they get good at it. They're going to like, well, I want to challenge myself with something else. They think they're getting good at it way quicker than they're actually getting good at it. And I'm that way too. I would rather focus a little bit on sleep and a little bit on food and a little bit on exercise so that throughout my day I can focus on something new. But back to the study, they have done a study now where people that are regularly resistance training, their bodies aren't showing, like they can have less sleep or less quality of sleep and it not affect their body and their biomarkers in the same way because of the resistance training. Mm. So resistance training kind of like balances it out.
It helps which, dummy it.
Again, I think of new parents. That's always what I go to.
Yeah.
That is such a quick thing to eliminate. And it's because of the exhaustion. It's because of you have something else, like everything is twisted up in your life, like everything is taken over now. But that could be something to prioritize because it might help you not feel the lack of sleep as much.
Yeah. Well, and I think to go on a quick tangent about the resistance training thing too, it's like when we say that, it's not you go in and you know, just pound the weights for 2 hours, or it's not this 30-minute high intensity workout. Like it can be go in and just do a couple lunges, a couple kettlebell swings, a couple shoulder press, and be done. You know, it doesn't have to be this huge, elaborate, high intensity workout, especially for those like new parents or whatever. But for food, like for the number one, I would say the food, especially if you're unhealthy and trying to get healthy. And then, I mean, even for the people that are already healthy and feeling good about stuff, like food is just one of those things. There's such a variety of it that I think you can constantly tweak and adjust and change things within food to get whatever results you're wanting or whatever you're trying to go after. That, you know, they say the abs is made in the kitchen type of thing. And I think that's true. It's calories in, calories out. If you're trying to lose weight, you need to eat less than what you're expending. If you're trying to gain weight, you need to eat more than what you're expending. If you're trying to become healthy, your organs become healthier, all of your hormonal systems, like everything going on inside your body, your digestive system, like food is going to be the thing that is probably the biggest lever of affecting those things. So like, and there's always this kind of like three-pronged, you know, this trident of things. Like it's sleep, exercise, and food. All of those are going to help it, but I think food is probably the biggest of them to help those things out.
So what would be your protocol?
I would say no, limited to no processed food. Just things that are grown and raised. That's it. That's as close as I would get to. I would get as close to that as I can. And I think that will take care of so much. You don't have to do a keto diet. You don't have to do a carnivore. You don't have to do a, you know, high fat, low carb. You don't have to do a high carb, low fat. You don't have to get caught up in any of those diets or a Mediterranean diet. You don't have to do any of that stuff. It's just eat whole natural foods, stuff that is grown from the ground or from a tree or whatever. Everything's grown from the ground, or something like animal products. Stuff that is raised.
I feel like that is such a shot. It seems like that's so hard. Like that would be too big of an ask, but it's actually I think it's like a shotgun approach. Like I think food gets confusing to people because of all of the different things that you have to look at, and I got to track my calories and what matters most, fat or carbs, or that I should focus on protein, and then how much of that. If you eliminate the processed food and just go to whole natural food, like you said, the grown and raised, it's kind of going to take care of itself because a lot of that stuff is hard to overeat on. So you're probably only going to eat what you are hungry for, and your body, for as long as you do it for a good amount of time, or you start to make that your regular until you have to rewire your relationship to food a little bit, but your body will probably signal to you how much to eat based off of what it needs, based off of your activity. When we are doing certain programs, I am hungrier than other times. Mm-hmm. And I will just eat when I'm hungry to fuel that. And when I'm not hungry during other programs, I just don't eat as much. And usually my body responds appropriately to that. It's like, okay, well, this program clearly is more taxing on me. So, okay, I'm going to eat more. When we're on the work weekends, I'm very irregularly getting workouts, and they're not my usual workouts. And I'm doing a bunch of things all the time that my workouts are a little bit more methodical and slow and whatever, that I don't really need to eat as much as I do. And I know the foods that I'm getting are going to be a little bit more calorie dense. So I maybe would only eat 2 times a day, to where usually I'm eating for sure 3 times a day. That your body will signal to you to do that. And that's very hard to push past that when you're eating whole foods.
Yeah.
It's like, eat another apple. Oh, you're hungry? Try to eat another apple after you've already eaten an apple. Try to eat more meat. Try to eat more vegetables. It doesn't signal the fake I'm hungry like the processed food does. So it eliminates the tricks in your mind. But if then you are still hungry, okay, you're eating great quality things that your body obviously maybe needs then. Or you might notice, even once you get into it further, what do you become more, what are you reaching for the most? And that could also be your body signaling to you, hey, you're maybe low on this vitamin right now. You're going to have 2 apples in a day. Or you're low on sodium. You're craving something that is more sodium based. Granted, that's a little bit deeper into the weeds, but your body does so much of the work, I think, when you do it that approach.
Yeah, the signals aren't as false. You know, you're eating what you are supposed to be eating, so the signals are a lot clearer, and I don't know, they're easier to figure out too, I think. Because I mean, how many people, it's like they'll eat a whole meal and you won't eat more of that same meal. Say it's just like more chicken or more broccoli or, you know, more apples or whatever, but you'll be like, yeah, but I could have some pretzels. And it's like, yeah, exactly. That's the whole point or whole thing that we're talking about, is like, you won't eat more meat because, oh, that just doesn't sound great. Like, yeah, you're kind of feeling this. You're a little bit in tune at that moment of like, oh, I don't need more of that. But why do you need more? Why do you need pretzels all of a sudden? And it's like you just have this odd fixation of, you maybe don't feel stuffed to the gills to where you're used to feeling that. And now, well, what sounds fine to eat? It ends up pretty much always being processed food. That's what you can consume, because I don't know if
it's easy.
It's easy, and it's digested easy, and it's tasty, and all that kind of stuff.
That's where I have like the compassion, or why I want to, hopefully, if I do have morning sickness of any kind, figure that out right away. Because like when I was sick that last time a couple years ago, it was so much easier to eat processed food. Like when I can't eat, when it's hard for me to eat, it's hard for me to eat whole food when I don't feel good. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah. So then when I do feel good, that's super easy to push all the food into my body.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you could be full, but it's like kids with toys. If you're trying to keep them entertained for an hour, you're probably going to give them 10 to 20 different options of things. They're not going to play with one thing for an hour. It's like our system with processed food is the same thing. You can be like, oh, I'm kind of bored with this, so I have nothing. I have something else.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm kind of bored with this. Oh, I have something else. I'm full. I can do something else. I'm full. Well, but this is it. It's enough of a change up that it tricks our brain into like, well, we could eat more.
And especially when you don't have to make it, you can just open a bag. Because that's the other barrier too, where it's like, oh, I'd have to make more of this thing, or I'd have to, I don't know, it's just like more work to eat whatever it is. Yeah. I think too, with the just going whole natural foods, it sounds daunting, but at the same time, it's such a simpler approach. It's not confusing. It's not, well, this says keto on it, but it's kind of high carb and I'm supposed to stay at this amount, and now I have to do the math. If I eat this, what can I not eat later? And oh, high fat, no, I need to have this, or low fat, I can't have this. And you're getting into the weeds of all these different diets of, does it fit the diet, to where just whole natural foods, is it a whole natural food or not?
Yeah.
Like chips or not?
And
pretzels or not?
That's where it's hard though, is because it's the convenience thing. It's the, like, it is easy to just eat those things because it's simple and you don't have to do the, well, what diet do I have to do to get what I want? It's like, no, you just eat this way. But that also then comes into, you have to prepare things. Like, you are going to have to cook. You are going to have to spend more time with your food. And I think in this lane with health and fitness, the last how many years, or at least since we've been in the business of it, it seems like everyone is trying to convince people of, like, we're trying to be salesmen about it. We're like, yeah, but you can just do this, and this is how you can make it easier for yourself. And like, but if you just do this, and then this is the way that you can, like, meal prepping, so then you don't have to cook every day. I think there comes a point where you just, like, how easy can you make it? Like, yeah, you're just going to have to want it a little bit. You're just going to have to put in some work.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you're going to have to
what
work.
else in life is like that? You want to have a certain job, you got to go to school for it. You got to study. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the money. You have to pay to get that. We can't just go, oh, well, you really want this? Well, let's find the most convenient, easy way for you to get that. This is the one lane where I feel like a lot of people in the business are just trying to convince the average person of how easy it could be. It's like, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. It's simple, not easy.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole thing. I think the quicker that you can accept that, the quicker you're going to be able to, I don't know, the easier it is for you to then just do the work and do the stuff. Because where it gets even more and more sales pitchy and more convoluted is when it's these crazy diets or it's these crazy workouts. So you have to have this, special meal plan or special, workout routine or whatever. And it's like, none of that is really the big levers to do the things. It's just a way to try to make it as convenient and easy for you as possible to actually do the thing, which for some people it'll work and it'll get them on the path and the journey, and that's great. But the effectiveness of those typically isn't that high because it's still too convenient, and it doesn't hit the simple truths of what we need and what's going on. It's like, if you really want to be healthy, it's get 8 hours of sleep, it's eat whole natural foods, and it's get 2 to 3 hours of resistance training a week. That's all you have to do. It doesn't, and then I say that's all you have to do.
That's a lot.
For people, that's probably, it sounds crazy because they're starting from zero on all of those. But for some people, it's like, I'm halfway there. I get 7 hours of sleep. I eat mostly whole natural foods, but I still like have ice cream every night, or I eat a bowl of cereal every morning, or maybe my food's a little bit weird, or I go to the gym maybe once a week, or even like I don't resistance train. I go on the treadmill for 45 minutes every morning. It's like, so you're doing the work, but you're just not directed in the right direction because of whatever things you like or advice you've been told.
Which that person is so much easier to, I'm gonna say like manipulate, but to work with, because they're already playing the game. It's just, you need different tools. Like, you're already putting in the time, you're putting in the effort, you understand the importance of it. Just switching around how you're doing it to make it more effective. But for the person that's not even playing the game, I think to start talking about it with it being like, no, this isn't easy. This is going to be difficult, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So recognize it as that. When you do it, celebrate yourself for actually doing something. Like, you're achieving that by doing it because it's hard. Not people get into it and they're like, people said it was going to be easy and it's not. So like, maybe I'm different. Maybe this is just going to be hard for me. Maybe I'm the one that just can't lose the weight, or there's something internally extra wrong with me because I can't do it and hang on to it. And now I'm not losing the weight, or now I'm not getting stronger, or now I'm blah, blah, blah. Because it's not easy. It shouldn't be easy.
Well, and I think it's hard in the beginning, but it continues to get easier and easier and easier.
Sure.
And then you have roadblocks or hiccups that happen, and it gets a little bit hard again, but it's not as hard as it was way in the beginning. And then you just have to get through that and get over that, and it continues to be easy. It's just initially it is hard.
Yeah.
What do you think is the number 2?
Well, I'm not agreeing with you that food is number 1.
Oh, what do you think is number 1?
I that's what I said. Like, I think it should be a mix of all of it. Like, I think you should.
Well, we can't do that. Obviously, it's a mix of all of it.
But I think you should focus 2% on each one. So
this isn't what the episode is.
Okay.
Yes, obviously that's the answer, but you just gave away the whole secret. You gave away the whole crescendo at the end.
Yeah, I'm done with the like fake. This is the protocol, and it's gonna be super easy, and it's gonna change your life. What? No, it's gonna be.
Nobody clicks on. Here's the thing that everybody has said all before. People people aren't top saying fives.
That. Okay.
What do you want me to title this? How to get healthy like everybody. How it always is.
But people don't do that.
We need an exciting title. I can just do it since you're so opposed to it.
So you think food is your top. I don't even know if I can come up with 5 things.
The other thing with food is
3.
With food, you can go from overweight to in a correct BMI scale just through food. You don't even have to exercise.
Sure.
And that, I think that alone is going to move so many levers. It's going to make you so much healthier and lower your risk of all-cause mortality.
Okay, so I can do your list thing, but then at the end of the episode, I want to do just an overall
well, you already
disclaimer.
Did it in the
nope,
middle
that's
of the
not
episode.
what it is. That's not what it is. Okay, so then my second one is that food is first. Because I actually do agree. I think if you change your way of eating, it would start to affect some of the other things. Like, I do think it would affect sleep. I think a lot of people sleep terrible because of how they eat.
I want to affect behavior and mood and
like when we have processed food, we're both like sleeping bad in the night, nightmares, we're sweating.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that would affect a lot of it. The second one, then I would have to go to some sort of exercise protocol. And I don't think that needs to be like what you said of 3 days plus a week.
That's not what I said, but I'm mad at you.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm mad at you.
I'm mad that you're wearing a
orange shirt under a black hoodie with a red hat.
Okay.
Hey, guess what? I don't give a shit.
I know.
How about that?
I know.
You know, people think they're stylish. I am the true style. What do you think of that?
Remember when you just like, I'm drained. Like I am loss of energy after that.
Everybody thinks they're so stylish in their khaki pants and their freaking button-up shirts and their dresses and their heels and all this junk. And guess what? I'm not buying into the facade. And people can't handle it. They can't handle it.
I would start... okay, so for the working out or getting some sort of activity within your week, and that's how I would probably look at it, is week by week. I would maybe think about what just generally could work better in your schedule, or what just sounds easy, like better, more fun for you. For me, I've kind of gone back and forth between our programs of, oh, I'm liking this every day doing something, because then it gives I'm a schedule person, so I like that every day at this time we're doing this, even if it is we work out and then we're going on a walk. Like, I like that there is a structure every day that I can count on, because then I can fit other things around that. I've liked that. So if you're someone that's like, I would be fine with going on a 15-minute walk every day. Like, I remember teachers at school, they would do it on their lunch break.
Oh.
They would go on walks when it was warm out. Like, is that something that could be manageable for you? Or if you have kids, I've seen this new trend on social media, which I think is cool. After like lunch or dinner, the moms are taking the kids out for like a walk or a run. And like they do it like it's like a dessert, like every time after a meal they're doing this, which I think is cool. Could you do something like that? Or I've also been on the side of I like doing 3 days a week, and then I know every other day I don't have to worry about anything. I can load those days up on doing more work or errands or just hanging out, not doing anything, having just those few days where I have to fit something in or fit a workout in. I can like heavily load those days and not have to balance it out throughout the week. Or I can maybe add in alternate styles of exercise. Like maybe then I add in yoga those days, or we do an extra walk, or I can add in stretching or whatever. That gives me kind of that time to do that. So I've also liked that. So if that sounds like that would be more your speed or something that you would enjoy of, I want to plan on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, whatever days work for you, to fit in this kind of workout. I'm going to be doing that every day, every time on those days. I will make sure that I get it in because it works with my schedule the best on those days. Those are the days I'm going to worry about it. Every other day, if it something happens, it does. If it doesn't, that's fine because I have the scheduled days. That would be my 2 approaches for how to start implementing them. I think you could go in deeper to what kind of is your lifestyle, but I think that's going to be a different episode where we're going to talk about maybe how to choose a good workout for you. But that's how I would schedule it.
I think the number 2 most important is resistance training. I think as far as the longevity goes, I just heard Peter Attia say this on a podcast, that he's hard pressed to ever find somebody that's in their 90s that says, man, I just have too much muscle and too much strength. That I think that's so true. And especially as you see, your grandparents or your parents or whoever get older, maybe it's yourself, maybe we have 80-year-old people listening to this, that you probably need more strength and more muscle. You're starting to deteriorate, or you're seeing people deteriorate and they can't move as well. They can't get up and down off the chair. They can't walk as well. They're not as physically able as they used to be. And I hate to tell you, but that has nothing to do with your cardio. It's not that these people don't have the cardio to do it anymore. It's they don't have the muscle and the strength to do it anymore. So I think not only is it exercise, but I would say it's specifically resistance training. That would be the second most important. And as far as like weight loss and body composition and all that kind of stuff too, like cardio has its role, but without resistance training, you're not getting where, if we're going to health, you're not getting as healthy as you could by not having resistance training. If you're just doing walks or runs or bikes or rowers, you're not building enough muscle to be one of those healthy people. You're just maybe losing weight, hopefully losing weight if that's the goal. But yeah, you're not going to end up having enough muscle to be able to do the things that you want to do. And also just for the way that your body does things. Like muscle is a huge absorber of glucose. Or if you don't have a lot of muscle, your body's not able to take in that glucose and distribute it and do what it needs to do with it, burn it or whatever, that you're just going to start packing it on. And that's where you get this skinny fat. You're doing a whole bunch of cardio trying to lose weight, but your muscle you don't have enough muscle to take in all that glucose. So now what? To where if you're able to build more muscle, you're able to have more insulin sensitivity, and you're off and running with the glucose thing.
That's where I feel like you see in a lot of middle-aged to older women. And I feel like, at least looking at the markers from our podcast, like we are in the age range of like early 30s to 50s of who listens, which I feel like is who it happens to, where they're like, I eat a salad and I gain 10 pounds.
Oh.
It's like, yeah, because your system, you're on such a fine line that you have 100 calories in your salad dressing. It's
sure.
like, and yeah, your body is like, well, we don't need any of that.
Well,
we have no facility to be able to use it and burn it and grow off of it.
Yeah.
Because you just have to burn it off then through cardio. The muscle thing is, I always knew it was obviously very important. but seeing it so firsthand in the last 5 years with people in my family, and again, with that age bracket that's listening, maybe it's not your grandparents, but it's your actual parents. It's crazy to see how quickly your body can deteriorate. That, like with my grandma, it's terrible when you see they're cognitively still there, but they physically can't do what they feel like they should. Like when she couldn't start, like when she started to be able to not walk by herself and stand up by herself, but mentally she's like, I've been standing up and walking to the bathroom my entire life. Now you're telling me just all of a sudden I can't do that by myself? Or like in the middle of the night, she'd want to just get up, and you're like, you physically aren't strong enough to do that yourself. But then mentally you're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like that has to, you're going back to being a baby, but you know too much. Like that has to be so frustrating. And that's what starts to whittle your mental state down, I could imagine.
Oh yeah.
Is if you're like, just don't move. You physically can't handle it. And it's like, it's not the brain connection to her body necessarily. That will start to happen as well, because you're going to lose those signals because you're not moving anymore. But it literally, she is not strong enough to be able to do that. That sucks.
Yeah, totally.
And it's crazy how quickly that happens, and not even that old to where that could start to happen. That if you're listening at 50 or 60, like that's right around the corner, especially if you haven't been focusing on it and you don't have that library of muscle built up.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a hard thing to comprehend, because you can move now and you're able to move now and you're able to do it all now. But I think if you're somebody that's 30 or 40, like how many people are like, yeah, when you turn 30, it's just different. When you turn 40, it's just different. Like your body says, it's like, yeah. So now think about when you're 70. It's like, you're not going to be able to move like you were 40.
Right.
So what are you doing to be able to keep up with that, or try to, at least slow down the deterioration process as much as possible? And a big one of those things, if not the biggest thing, should be putting on muscle so you have the strength and the capability to continue to move and be able to do all that stuff. Because I think there's 100% correlation to movement and being able to move and brain function.
I was just going to say that is also with resistance training and just your cross-plane and multi-dimensional movement. That's what they tell you to do with kids because it strengthens their brain. So it's going to be the same thing as an adult. Like if you see, like think of some of the motor skills that you have lost. Or like if you ask an adult, like, can you skip? Can you skip backwards? Can you run backwards? Can you run and not kind of like feel unsteady? Like those are all things like you shouldn't just lose the comprehension to be able to do that. But when your only movement style is just walking around and looking around and moving your arms, that's not enough to keep your brain sparked with those things.
To where when you were a kid, you played kickball or baseball, or you did some sort of activity that was a little bit outside of just walking and moving your arms. That's why, like in Florida here, you see so many people playing pickleball. It's like you wonder
hand-eye coordination too.
Yeah, you wonder how much benefit and just like ability to slow down the deterioration process that has, like how much an effect that's having.
Yeah. I mean, we always bring up that same example, but like I taught a silver sneakers class, and some people didn't take the class because it was on the second floor, and going up the stairs was too risky for them. Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's a problem. Like you now just can't go upstairs. It's like, but you are cognitive enough to be able to drive here. Mm-hmm. Like you can drive here, you can get in the building, you have a gym membership, you pay for this. Like you are living your life on your own, and you're maybe mid 70s and you can't do anything because it's on a second floor.
Which if you can't walk upstairs, you shouldn't be allowed to drive. I mean, that's insane. That's wild.
Yeah, probably not. But it is like, it's that being able to step and catch yourself.
Yeah.
Like it's not even that they're not strong enough to be able to like step and plant and then push their weight up. But it's that, what if I go down and I don't have the ability to quickly do that? It's like, yeah. And as much as it is a strength thing because you're having to brace all of your weight and quickly, but it's that mind muscle connection that you start to lose.
Yeah.
That now you just can't do second stories.
No. Yeah.
That's a hindrance on your life.
Yeah.
And again, it happens fast.
What's your number 3?
I would say I would have said sleep. I feel like every time you're asking me this now, I'm like, sleep would have been my number 1, and now it's moving down to 4. But I think my number 3 would actually be like your stress. And managing your just general mindset, your thoughts, your moods, your relationships with people, and your relationships with things, whether that's with work or your relationship with food, your relationship with exercise. I would say your overall, what are you radiating inside your body and out? That is becoming way more prominent to me, or something that I'm trying to focus on, because I am doing good with the food. For a long time, we've done good with the food, the exercise, the sleep. Like, we're dialed in a lot of ways. That is a piece that I'm not still great at, is the managing my emotions and my stress, and understanding, like, okay, I'm physically looks like I'm fine, but like inside I'm buzzing all the time. Like, I'm not great at just, okay, but relax my nervous system. So that would be my 3rd one is focus on your nervous system. Find ways that, whether it's a specific protocol or you're doing actual activities that help you, like for me, listening to music. If I can just like sit and disconnect, that helps me bring back. Or reading a book. Like, I am someone that can stay here for a pretty long time on that amped buzz, but internally I think it starts to affect me, and I don't realize it, that I have to force myself to do things to bring myself back down.
Yeah. Yeah, mine's probably sleep. Number 3, sleep. I think I alluded to it earlier, of just like the big 3. I think sleep would be my number 3. There's just too much like, and for a lot of people, like, it probably would be number 1, saying that it is the most important thing. If you don't get enough sleep, it doesn't matter if you're eating good. It doesn't matter if you're exercising a lot, but
they all kind of have that as well.
Yeah. And what you were saying before, like, you kind of need to do all 3. I would say sleep number 3. I think it's just, as far as literally just recovering your body mentally, physically, everything. Like, there's more and more data to show how important it is, of everything internally happening, that you need sleep in order to recover and to get back to 100%, if that's even a real thing. And all the things that you're talking about too, like stress and all that too, like sleep is one of those things that helps you deal with that. And
literally deal with that. Like, with sleep studies, like, that is where a lot of your emotional processing happens.
Yeah.
Is when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
That's where I go back to the nervous system thing, is I was noticing I go to sleep like buzzing, and then I'll dream high intense, and I'll wake up like thinking about it.
Sure.
Whatever it is. Like, it's not even like things that I'm working on. It's just like tasks.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not resting, because before I go to sleep, I am not getting into a relaxed state. And things that I didn't even realize were symptoms of being in that fight or flight all the time, of like brain fog is a huge one. Or if you're noticing like your irritation level is quick, like if your mood swings are crazy, or if you feel like you can't handle caffeine as much, or if you notice the effects of caffeine without having a lot of caffeine, that is really just your nervous system being like, you got to calm down.
Yeah.
Like, we're in such a state of fight or flight a lot of the time, especially in this country, because of all the TV, computers, phones. Like, the phone is triggering that naturally in your system. that having to do things that are completely opposite of like just go and sit outside or read a book or just sit in silence or listen to music to where it's not visually happening to you. I was noticing a lot of like other things happening where I'm like, oh, well, maybe this is because of this. It's like, no, I'm freaking out internally over nothing, but like this is now my new, what seems like baseline, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah. My number 4 is probably like getting outside. I think living here, how much more we're outside, I see more of the benefit of it than I have really before. And probably because growing up, like I was getting a lot of time outside, you know, football practice, you're outside, or track, you're outside doing all that kind of stuff. That you get away from that when you get out of school, and now there's no reason to be outside doing anything anymore. That I think being outside and out of the cave that you've built inside your home, I think there's just, I don't know if it's like, maybe it's a nervous system thing where you get outside and it's naturally calming and relaxing, as long as you guess you're not in New York City or something like that. But getting outside and just going for a walk or reading or sitting by a pool or going to a beach or sitting in your lawn, maybe mowing the lawn, doing your chores outside, whatever it is. I think there's something to, that relaxation of the nervous system and the sun exposure, like getting the vitamin D and all that kind of stuff, as long as you're not burning from it. But I think that has been, especially for somebody that's trying to get healthier, and say it's somebody that's really, really unhealthy, I think that's a good one to add to it, just because you take a person who is unhealthy, they probably are inside 95% of the time. The only times they're outside is to go to their car, to get in the car, to go to the next place, to also be inside. That it just seems like there's this kind of odd correlation between healthy people and being outside and unhealthy people and being inside. That I think there's, whether it's stuff that I just don't know, or it's stuff that we don't know yet about, like being inside versus being outside, that there's something chemically happening to us. I think there's something to it.
Well, I think there's science to it. How much is like fully real and how much do we just like are wanting to believe?
Yeah.
You know, it's like they say like there's ions that are coming from the ground and the grass and the whatever. How do you get that into your body? Who knows? Maybe that's where it's like,
yeah.
Do you just get them all the time, or do you have to be barefoot on the ground? I don't know.
Yeah.
My dad trying to break that. He's like, so it can't go through my shoes?
Right.
Like it can go through the cement, but it can't go through my shoes?
Or it can't, like my calf is exposed. I'm wearing shorts.
Right. Does it have to be like
go through my foot?
Contact? Yeah.
If I just touch it with my hand, does that work?
Yeah. And then is there a duration of time that it has to be touching the ground?
Yeah, it's all quite funky.
But I noticed that the most dramatically that's when I kind of started to realize like, oh, I'm kind of buzzing and ramped a lot of the time when I went to the barn. And just like being around the slow moving of the day, just seeing that, like seeing people just take their time to do things. The only thing happening really is just making sure some horses are fed and stay alive, and you're cleaning things up that is like outside and on the land. The way that my system just went every time I went there, I was like, oh, this is a feeling.
Yeah.
You can feel this relaxed and calm and like at ease. And I noticed we had a conversation on the way home after that. And I was like, I feel like I'm thinking so clearly because I don't have this like in my system and in my head. Yeah. I'm like, wait, I'm like this majority of the time. So I need to implement things in my day to bring me back to that, because I'm not naturally that anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a practice behavior that my system needs to get into. That was your 4, right?
Yeah.
The getting outside is actually a really good one. Man, I want to say like it could be something simple as just like hydration, like getting more water, but I feel like I'm going to continue on the different route that you're going on. And I would say challenging your day-to-day environment and your relationships. Like, are there things in your life that are supporting and lifting you? Or are there things that you're keeping in your life to keep the stress, keep the high intensity? Like, I think about that, like, with people and their kids. Like, are you taking time to be present with your kids? And, like, focusing on how are they developing and, like, enjoying them? Are you taking time to enjoy the people that you're living with? If that is a stress for you or things that are causing problems in your life, are you allowing time to maybe sit with those things? Or sit with, can I benefit myself by making myself better? And then is that going to benefit my relationships with people around me? Or am I doing something that I could work on that will then enrich the relationships that I have? I think nowadays we are steering away from contact with people and like deep relationships with people, because all that we're talking about is like how they suck and how they're toxic and how they're trying to manipulate you and gaslight you and everything. That now we're just zeroing in on being alone, being with ourselves. We're the only ones that can handle anything. That we're alienating everything, and then we're becoming lonely. And I think because when you're so by yourself, not only do you not get the physical benefits about being with people, but you also don't get people to challenge you. So I think that's where we don't grow as a society as much, and we don't get to evolve as quickly as we usually do, because we only have a way of thinking then. We don't have people in our day-to-day lives that are like, that doesn't make any sense why you do that. Or you talk super loud, fix that. Or, hey, I noticed that you're like, you get pretty ramped up. Is there something that you can do? Or just challenging your way of being and your way of thinking that then will force us to change and allow for growth. That you can't always get that just via yourself. So I would say your relationships around you is a huge part of health.
My number 5, I think it's going to be a little controversial, but I've had such a good experience with it that it has worked its way up to being an important thing, and that's taking a multivitamin. I think
I thought you were going to say don't do caffeine.
Oh, no. Weirdly, the caffeine thing, it's more been just like, oh, it's a non-factor. Having it versus not having it, there's no difference. So.
Okay, sorry. Your multivitamin?
The multivitamin thing, it's just like, I would always have this kind of sinus issue thing. And since taking a multivitamin, it's pretty much completely gone away. To where, to me, that kind of cues maybe it's a vitamin deficiency, a mineral deficiency, or something that was having that happen. To where there could be something for anybody that they have this chronic issue that taking a multivitamin could cure, could help. And I think too, with just how our food is, going through the food system and it with herbicides, pesticides, the way it's grown, how it's frozen for a year before it gets to us. I saw something that said like the apple you're eating was probably picked a year ago. Like it's probably a year old by the time it gets to you. It's just been the way that it's, carried over to us. It's frozen and
maintaining
whatever
structure,
to where how much vitamin and mineral deficiency in that has happened with it, that long of a transport process, the way that we grow things now with all the herbicides and pesticides, how much nutrients are actually in our food anymore. I think it's less than what it used to be when we weren't doing all these things and everything was local and what you were getting was actually fresh and not a year old. That the multivitamin thing, I think, has become more and more of an important factor because we're probably not getting the full dose of vitamins and minerals that we need. And I feel like there's a lot of things that it has potentially helped that I'm not I don't want to not take one now because I'm worried about the things that might not, like I might not be getting anymore. Just like the energy and my nose being clear and free, and maybe my sleep being better, and just my immune system and not really getting sick or colds or like any of that kind of stuff. That I see it as just such an immune support thing more than anything, that it's like, why would I risk not doing that or taking that I feel like I've seen a lot of benefits from it, that it's moved up to be a pretty important thing that I do.
And I think you could take the approach of getting a vitamin deficiency test, but after taking the inflammation test, I think I'm realizing more how much our body could fluctuate. And naturally, I think we get into something and we kind of stick with it for a while, that unless you are getting those things tested fairly regularly, it's kind of hard to tell where are you currently at and what you're currently needing. It's like you could be greatly deficient in vitamin A, but then 6 months from now you're fine. And now you're only taking a vitamin A supplement versus just kind of, again, the shotgun approach. Mm-hmm. That I think for the average person, that might be the best route as well.
Yeah.
Is just
you don't have to spend $600 on a blood panel or a vitamin deficiency test, and you can just kind of go for it. Just, there's also conflicting arguments about that, of whether you can buy the one at Walmart or you buy the expensive one that says it's clean and whatever. I always steer towards the things that are a little bit cleaner done and better quality done, because
that's how everything is.
Especially with the supplement industry, there isn't regulation. So a lot of the stuff could not even be in that pill bottle, which then you could use that same argument against me of like, well, yeah, your $50 multivitamin might not have what it says in it either. But that's why you look for third-party tested, and, you get something that I think is better quality rather than the $14 bottle at Walmart, because you don't know what's in that. It's not third-party tested, and yeah, I don't know. That just seems weird to me. For how much we know about the food stuff too, it's like, so you're getting the, apples that are already cut up and whatever, and in plastic wrap, and can sit on the shelf for 6 months. But
I cut an apple at home, and after 30 seconds, it's turning brown.
Exactly. So it's like, I don't trust hardly anything. So for me to trust Walmart, I don't think that's going to happen.
And isn't it's the methylated version of a vitamin is what they want to look for?
Yeah, there's, again, conflicting, ideas about that. Methylated is, the analogy that I've heard used is, you can't put pure oil into your gas tank in your car. It has to be basically processed into gasoline so that you can, and that's what your car runs off of. And the same sort of idea around vitamins and this being methylated is you're putting these vitamins into a specific state that your body can actually absorb and utilize, rather than just putting it in as quote unquote oil and having your body try to digest and distribute those vitamins and minerals.
Are there any brands that we could say that you like? Like, I've always liked the Thorne brand.
Thorne is good. The one that I take is 10X, 10X Health System or something like that. I would just look for third party tested ones, and maybe there's somebody that you're already following that you trust and you like, and they have a multivitamin. Try that and take that, and try different ones too. Maybe you'll notice different things from different ones.
Yeah. I like Thorne because it seems like it's cheaper as well, on the cheaper side of like a lot of the things, and they have a vast selection of things, but
cheaper for maybe what quality it is.
Right.
It's definitely not cheap. Like, it's cheap.
Sure.
It's like you could go get way cheaper products.
Cheaper for the quality, and it's easy to get. Like, it's very, like, it's on Amazon, it's on everything.
Yeah.
That was 5, right?
Yeah.
So then my disclaimer, besides it just being do a little bit of all of it, and with not going against what I said of it's just going to be hard and you just have to want it. But I think what could make it slightly easier is if there's one of these topics that sparked you or made it sound like, oh, that could be fun, or that could be a little bit less terrible. It's probably something that you're going to stick with a little bit more if you're enjoying it or if you believe in it. If you're like, sleep doesn't do anything, but you believe in food, then start with that, because you'll probably fade off of the sleep quicker because you just aren't bought in yet. But do whatever is going to be the most intriguing to you and exciting to you without ruining the integrity of how you're doing it because of its excitement level. Don't go too crazy that you fade off of it because you made it too crazy. But I think whatever you're going to be interested in first could be kind of your way of getting into it.
Well, and I think the best results that come from this is using all these things in tandem. It's not going to be by picking one of them, but you have to figure out how you work and how you're going to achieve these things. So
snowball effect.
If it's one by one, it's one by one. If it's doing a little bit of everything, it's doing a little bit of everything. But yeah, the best results that you will get is by doing all of these things at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
See you later.